Alright my friends, welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew and today we're going to talk about PSSR on the PlayStation 5. Now, I know that there was a lot of misunderstanding about this, how this technology was going to work, what it was going to do, how it was going to perhaps enhance the quality of your PlayStation 5 games. Now, I've tested most of the games that this is available in, like some Last of Us 2, Spider-Man 2, pretty much all the first party games that it's actually available in right now. I've been sitting here testing them. If you want, like, I can kind of go to the home page. I've tested Spider-Man 2, Ratchet and Clank, Rift Apart. I've actually been testing some PS4 games like Mad Max, Horizon Forbidden West, Demon Souls, Lords of the Fallen. I was testing some Far Cry 6. I've Horizon Call of the Mountain, Ghostwire Tokyo, obviously some Assassin's Creed. You guys saw that in the video. Pretty much all these games, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, did a little bit of Forspoken. Obviously Gran Turismo 7's update's not there yet. But as you can see, guys, I've been testing this on a bunch of games, some Rise of the Ronin, some, the Callisto Protocol, stuff like that. So, I mean, as you can see, like I've been basically going through a lot of these games, trying to get you guys the best information that I can for this. And, my friends, I am probably one of the most staunch critics on PlayStation that you are ever going to find. I question everything because I love PlayStation. I love Xbox too, but not to the extent, I love Xbox, but not to the extent that like everything they did was like something that I would climb over with a fine-tooth comb or anything like that. Last generation, I came into the Xbox thing with like, kind of low expectations, kind of the way you would. And then you kind of just get to a point where you're like, oh, okay, and then they surprise you. You get surprised, kind of like I am right now. So here's the thing, guys. PSSR is PlayStation's spatial super resolution. This is an upscaling technology that is using machine learning to upscale and give you better image quality while still giving you the performance and everything, kind of like Nvidia's DLSS. Now, I'm a huge critic of DLSS. I don't necessarily like the way it looks when I'm playing games. I don't necessarily like it. I've always kind of preferred like a softer image quality over the sharp crispness that DLSS will give you at 4K. A lot of people do like that though. So a lot of people are going to probably love PSSR, where a lot of people are not going to like it because I like it. So that means that the image quality, guys, is not super over sharpened on a lot of these games that I've been playing. Now, I understand, that a lot of people out there that are going to be covering PlayStation 5 Pro are probably going to, compare it to DLSS a lot, and they're going to be like, DLSS is better and all of this stuff. Well, obviously, you guys know, if you've been at the channel for a while, I am an AMD user. My PC is an AMD 7900 XTX. I run the 7800X 3D as my CPU, and I personally love the way that AMD makes my visuals look, and PlayStation 5 Pro being an extension of what the AMD GPUs can produce, the visuals are a lot more in line with what you would get on an AMD GPU. And that kind of makes me think that FSR4 is going to be similar to PSSR in the way that it works. Now, I feel like it's pretty safe to say that the PlayStation 5 Pro is essentially using one half of the CUs, whatever, that it has available to it for PSSR. I feel like this is more in line with something, well, at least for everything that's out right now. Everything that's out right now was already running good on PS5, was already looking pretty good. Now, PSSR is pretty much just upscaling everything that we already had to a more to a 4K image in a 4K resolve, and I have to say it does a very good job at that. Like everything that I've watched, everything that I've played so far, pretty convincing 4K image while utilizing PSSR. I've went back and I've tested some games that do not have PSSR. Obviously, there's a few of them in there, and when I look at something like Horizon Forbidden West that is not currently using PSSR, and I compare that image quality to something like Spider-Man 2 or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or some of these other games that are actually in fact using PSSR now, I can comfortably honestly tell you guys that like this is a good technology. This is going to put the PlayStation 5 Pro in an interesting category going forward. Now, do I think that this is going to compete with mid-level PCs? Absolutely no. When you look at something like a 7800 XT, or you look at like a 4070 Super, or even the 4060 Ti or the 7600 XT, those GPUs are still ahead of what PlayStation 5 is actually capable of doing, at least in its current form with what we have to test on right now. That's where I'm coming to you after playing around with the 7600 XT and other GPUs, you know, from the bottom up to the top. I can tell you that PlayStation 5 Pro is kind of in its own little world, and most of the gain that you're getting is 100% from these first-party studios. I mean, games like Lords of the Fallen and, you know, some of the other games out there that are not first-party games that are actually using this technology. They are not doing it as well as what the PlayStation first-party games are doing. Now, when I'm sitting here and I was playing Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and you know, I went to a couple different areas. I didn't just do the whole what Digital Foundry and everybody else is looking at, like, oh, look at the bushes and how they move. I was going to places in the game that are actually more meaningful to me, that actually exhibit, you know, better ray tracing, stuff like that. And I'm looking at this. I'm in Nefarious City, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, gosh dang, man. You would have a very hard time convincing me that DLSS is better than this. And I kept thinking in my mind, I'm like, well, what if I zoom in like 400% right here? Or what if I zoom in 400% right there? To the naked eye, guys, PSSR looks freaking perfect. If you're not zooming in and like looking at like DLSS side by side, I think you'd have a hard time noticing. Like, I do not think that DLSS is significantly better than what you're getting. Now, when you utilize like DLSS in the quality mode, and it like sharpens everything and makes everything look sharp and crispy, that right there is going to draw your attention to it. But me personally, like, it looks good initially. I'm like, whoa, that looks good. But then it wears off pretty quickly. I'm just like, okay, I'm not seeing anything that's standing out anymore. Like, everything just looks the same. It just looks like, I've said this before, it just looks cell shaded now. Everything just looks cell shaded. It just looks really sharp and defined, and it loses that overall luster of like, oh, that looks good. Like, I'm not seeing that anymore. With PSSR, I'm like looking around, and I'm sitting in these games for a long time. Like, I've been playing Spider-Man for like the last hour. I've went through the whole beginning. I started a new game plus. And like the first part of the game, like, if you've been here for a while, when I went through it, I was like, oh, this is terrible, man. This sand and everything just looks blurry and fuzzy, and it looks really low resolution. Not anymore. Like, it looked crisp, it looked clean, it looked good. Like, there was definition in the lines and definition in the textures and definition everywhere throughout that whole segment. And I was like, wow, this looks good. Even on the Sandman, there was definition in the sand. Like, you could see like texturized sand in the Sandman on the Performance Pro mode. Now I'm actually running around into the performance quality mode, which is even better with 120 FPS. This thing runs the gamut. It's not locked to 30 frames, but it does allow it to go over. And to be completely honest with you guys, it feels pretty dang smooth. Not as smooth as performance, but it does feel smooth enough to where I'm like, wow, this actually feels like it could pass for 60 frames a second. I haven't really been using my because my LG C2 has a frame counter on there. I haven't really been using that a whole lot to like check that, because you got to turn it on and then it goes off and stuff. But I've been trying to essentially let myself get immersed in the experience, to look at the visuals and see if it can get me immersed into the world and see what's going on in that. Like I was able to sit in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart for a while too. All of these games I've been able to sit here, like it's like 5:30 and I have had my PlayStation Pro since 10 o'clock. Like I've been playing this thing all day long, checking out all these games and stuff to try to bring you the best coverage that I can. This is definitely, this technology is very, very good with the PlayStation first party games. Like I was saying, you know, some of the other games, you know, like when I turned on Rise of Ronin, every time I turned on Rise of Ronin prior to the PS5 Pro, I was like, oh gosh, this game is terrible looking. It just is so low resolution. But right when I popped into that and I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, this actually looks good. It looks clean. I mean, it doesn't look mind-blowing or anything. It literally has the same visuals that it did before, but PSSR is upscaling it to where it's like, okay, this looks good. Like you could get into this and enjoy it more because it's not as blurry. Even games like Forspoken that do not have PSSR enabled, even just the extra power of the PlayStation 5 Pro was enough to push that to what appears to be like 1440p on a 4K screen. Like if I was playing this on a monitor, I think it would look absolutely incredible. Now, there is some of the games that obviously, you know, like your PlayStation 4 games, when I'm playing around with those and I'm looking at those, you know, like Drive Club and Mad Max are the two that I've focused on. Mad Max actually has like this it has like this, not necessarily like a blur, it's like a sheet of blur across it or whatever, but everything else looks like really sharp. But there's a lot of like, you know, atmosphere, like smoke and fog and whatever in that game. They kind of just makes it look a little blurry. But when you really sit back and stop and look at the overall visuals, you can see that. Now this is not something that you're going to be able to see. I've watched all the Digital Foundry videos and like other videos, just like you all have, and we've all come away with questions like, how does it look? And you know, when I look at the way Digital Foundry explains it, it's like, okay guys, I get that you guys have to probably meet your quota for whatever Nvidia GPUs you got to sell, and you got to make DLSS look like it is the best thing ever. I don't have to do that. Like I'm not tied to any contract, so I can be honest with you and upfront with you about how I feel like PSSR looks. Now, and it's not just because I'm some AMD fanboy. I like the way PSSR looks. If PSSR is essentially RDNA 4 or FSR 4, and it comes to the AMD cards intact, the way it's running and feeling and looking on the PlayStation 5 Pro, I think that would be good. I definitely kind of feel like they would still be able to be like, oh, DLSS is better. Like it is what it is. But like when you're looking at this image quality, my friends, and you're looking at like the way, like right when I loaded into Spider-Man 2, I was like, damn, this looks way better. This looks significantly better than what it looked like before. And I was playing before I went and got the PS5 Pro today, because I had to pick it up at 10 o'clock. I was able to sit here and play around with the regular PlayStation 4, you know, downloading more games, going through there, looking at stuff, trying to get like a mental image in my head about what the different things are looking like. And I was like, wow, dude, I've come across pretty impressed with this PSSR. I think it is actually something that not only is it going to continue to get better with new updates and algorithms and stuff like that, well, we haven't seen what the PlayStation 5 Pro is truly capable of when it comes to actually being able to perform on new games that are being built for it. But one thing that I do want to touch on while we're in this video is the CPU, guys. It is kind of disappointing. I wish that they could have made that better, but at the same time, okay, here's the thing, and this is why like this is one of the biggest reasons that this thing could never compete with a PC, is because with a PC, you're not stuck with these imaginary freaking like frame rates that you are on a console. Like you get to decide what you want, and the PlayStation 5 Pro just cannot compete. Image quality wise, yeah, it could easily compete with those other GPUs. It can compete, but at the same time, it's not. You're not getting the full image quality, because you are pretty much sacrificing some of that image quality to take a performance mode that was specifically built for the console. So it's not a like for like. You're not getting a like for like PC experience. Like a PC experience, you get full control over all the settings and full control over how your performance is by being able to adjust those settings or use upscalers and stuff. I would say, on average, if I had to like compare like FSR to PSSR, I would say that everything that I like about FSR, except for like, you know, obviously, but it gets rid of the things that are most critically that people complain about with FSR the most, and that is the shimmering and all of that stuff. Like, it's still here and it is still present on the PlayStation 5 Pro. Like, you still can put yourself in interesting positions to where you can still see the overall flickering and some of that kind of stuff, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was. Like, I remember on playing on PS5, Spider-Man 2, I'd be able to just stop and look at a building wall and it'd be shimmering. The whole damn wall would be shimmering, and I'd be like, whoa. Now it's like, damn, it's clear, and it's clear way into the distance. It looks good and it holds up very well. So obviously you're still getting some of the shimmering that you would be with like FSR 3, but it looks significantly better. It's almost like they smashed image quality of FSR 3 and gave it, you know, like, obviously, like was able to sharpen it up and give it that machine learning look to it, but it doesn't completely degrade. Like, I don't know. I like it. I think it's pretty decent, and I think it holds up pretty well. So I'm curious to see how it goes, you know, deeper, further into the future. Obviously, you know, one of our first games that are going to be getting FSR 4 is probably going to be Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Hopefully that comes soon, and hopefully it's available on FSR or on RDNA 3 and RDNA 2 GPUs, so that we can actually look at that. I would say that like this does, the PlayStation 5 Pro really does still feel like it's like a RDNA 2, just with more cores. I don't think it's full RDNA 3. The overall, the power just doesn't seem like that. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird how this stuff works out. But I would like more clarification from PlayStation. So at the time of, you know, recording this video, I've tested multiple games. I've probably played around with like 30 games so far. Just playing around with these. I've spent about, you know, from 10 to 5:30, so about 7 hours playing around with these now. And yeah, guys, I'm actually pretty impressed with how PSSR turned out. So I will be going back through and I will be doing individual games. I will be doing some other individual stuff to like talk about this more, and then do like a more full on review of the PlayStation 5 Pro as I continue to go. I just wanted to get the PSSR thing out first so that people actually knew. I would do video, guys, and show you guys video, but if you can't tell on Digital Foundry's videos, you're not going to be able to tell on my video. That's why I'm not doing any kind of that video, but I will kind of bring this over a little bit closer so that you guys can kind of see Spider-Man in the distance, and then we'll get over here. Like, we are in, let me just get on over here. Now, if you look, you've got like some really decent, like one of the things why I was sitting over there by that building, this right here was like, it was just like I was sitting here and I was looking down and I could see down into the street and everything, and it just looked so incredible. Like, it's so dense, that dense image quality that I like. And like, you can look over here at the building, on the side of this building right here, like where that used to shimmer. That would used to shimmer like really bad, but you could see all the density in these buildings and in these shadows down and through here, and you can see like the density, like it looks dense, like in the street, over here in the sidewalks, you know, the people that are walking by, like the tail lights on the cars and stuff, the reflections on the windows in the back of like some of these cars and stuff. And then if you look at the obvious reflections right here as you look over here at Spider-Man, like this looks incredible, my friends. Looks incredible. Significantly less overall shimmer, like it just looks clean. And I don't lose that dense image quality that I'm always talking about on the channel with PSSR. And that's what I like. I feel like I lose that with DLSS, but I'm not losing that. And that's a big thing for me. That's a big thing for me. So, all right, guys, if you like this content, do not forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.